Oh, welcome back to another episode of Geekified. Again, usually when you see me and Nathan doing reviews, it's movies you've probably never heard of. So this one has fell a little bit under the radar. It's a very unique movie, and it is one of the best actors Britain has ever made in it. And it's a very unique, different film. And we're here to talk about Boiling Point. So, Boiling Point, again, I did the intro on him. Stephen Graham. Stephen Graham is by far one of the best actors this planet has ever seen. One of the best exports that we've ever gave the world when it comes to acting. He's incredible. Absolutely sensational, but we'll get into him. But there's a lot to unpack on this movie. Very interesting movie, very different movie, and a very personal movie for the two people who are doing the review on this. So, hi Nathan, how you doing?
I'm really good, man. Really good. I'm excited to talk about this one because I've been badgering you for weeks to watch it.
I know, and I did. I watched it last night, so it's very fresh in my memory. There's very, very few films have done what this film managed to do, and it's probably the most unique selling point about the whole film. Don't get me wrong, it's still a great film, great idea, great story. Not the most interesting of stories, if you want to kind of make it bigger, but the way it was done and how it was put together is a phenomenal thing. It's basically one shot. The whole movie is basically one shot. I've not read too deep, so I'm going to badger Nathan to see how much he knows of whether or not it is truly a one-shot film.
I've literally just read about it. I was just reading about it just before this. So he was asked if it was truly a one-shot, and he says it's the most zen filmmaking experience he's ever had, because I think they've probably filmed it in one shot, but they've filmed it a few times, and maybe they've edited a little bit, but when they were doing the takes, they were doing them in one take, the whole thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because it's incredible. It's a masterclass in camera work. Yeah. Absolute masterclass.
Yeah. I don't think it was like 1917, which was meant to look like one take, but wasn't.
It wasn't.
I think this was actually one camera, one take.
Yeah, there's very, very few films that have done it, and very few films that have done it very well. There's even some music videos out there which I'll bring up in a little bit that I've managed to do. But I think like Stephen Graham's not the biggest well-known actor on the planet. He's very well known in Britain now for a lot of the stuff he's done. He's probably getting quite well known in Hollywood now for a lot of the kind of more bigger budget movies that he's managed to get his leg through the door for. But like I said, the one take version of this film, it's incredible. It is such a difficult thing to do. I've seen it. I've watched lots of documentaries on these films try to be made. And it throws back to a film. I don't know if you've seen it. I think you have, actually. I think we discussed this before, called Victoria. Bank robbery, a German movie. No, you're not seen it? No, this is a film that was truly a one take. It was the full camera work, full bank robbery, and following the whole thing from there. And again, see, when I watch these movies, this is a problem, especially one take ones. I get distracted quite a lot, and I end up having to rewind a wee bit. And I did it all the time with this. I kept on going, was that a wipe? Which is where the camera, someone moves past the camera, and that's where they add the cut to make it look like it's one take, but it wasn't. And I couldn't see it. So whatever, even if there isn't more than one cut in this, again, well done, because it wasn't very visible. I do want to obviously read a lot more after I've done this review about this film, but just because it's fresh in my mind, I want to talk about it. But yeah, what was the standout thing for you?
I think Stephen Graham, and just about anything, he the camera sort of you get drawn to his performance, and it's not so much about what he's saying. It's about he's the best actor I've ever seen at those sort of uncomfortable silences that he does. You know, sometimes he's not speaking, he's sort of just looking, or he's got a facial expression, and that's what gets it for me. I just around about Christmas time, I watched the film Help that he did on Channel 4 about the pandemic and the care home, and he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal on everything. And I've actually watched the short film that this film was based on as well, which is also called Boiling Point. It's just sort of shorter version of it, and he plays the same character. But yeah, I think from somebody who works in the hospitality industry and in restaurants, you know, it's the closest I've ever seen on camera to what working in a restaurant is like.
Yeah.
You know, the way the interaction between staff, you know, that sort of family bond you get in a restaurant, especially in the kitchen teams and, you know, stuff like that. I get that real family bond when they've been together for a long time. And just the pressure, and the stress involved in working in that environment. I mean, I think people think that, working in a restaurant, that must be great. It must be great fun. Yeah, it is great fun, but it's really hard work and it's really stressful as well. And I think this is the closest I've seen to that. And even, to the point where, that guy's been rude to that waitress, and it's just like, and she's got to,
he's racist. He's an underlying racist because of lack of serving.
Yeah, but that happens all the time, and people just have to sort of just take it and walk away, and people don't understand that that's just how we're spoken to, in restaurants all the time. And I think it's
not just us. I mean, I've dealt with. I dealt with even this year. We're only in February, and I've dealt with racism in the restaurant. There's someone who didn't want to be served by someone who was not from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, and it's this film is. Anyone who doesn't work in the hospitality trade is going to watch this film and think, they're making it up just for this film. No, they're not. This is. I'd love to.
So even that point when you've got a few of them are students working there, and they've got this sort of banter going on, and it's just what it's like, working when you work in a restaurant, and you get people, especially people you work, because you're there 50 hours a week and you're with them all the time, and you develop that sort of camaraderie and stuff like that after you've been there for a while. And this is the closest I've seen on film to what an actual busy shift in a restaurant looks like.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't enjoy some parts of it, but the reason I didn't enjoy some parts of it was because it felt like work. And that's the thing. It's like, and that's a genuine. I genuinely was being, for lack of a better word, triggered. I was watching different bits of it. There was bits of the EH show at the start. I've dealt with EH shows exactly the same, and I've dealt with people who deal with kind of quality control and stuff like that exactly the same. And I was watching this film and I went, for fuck's sake. I was turning away, going like, And then there was obviously a bit at the end of the film dealing with allergies, which is a massive thing in the hospitality trade. And it is so stressful. It is such a difficult thing. You're literally in restaurant and a hospitality game, you're dealing with people's lives now. Where they come in and say they're allergic to nuts or something and they could die from having nuts. You make a mistake as a waiter, you make a mistake as a manager, you can potentially kill somebody. And this is a massive part of the end of the story as well. So it took me until last night, I kind of left watching that film going, it was all right. But then obviously when I came out of today, I was thinking a wee bit more. I was like, no, do you know what? Right, I'm taking it. I'm almost taking the film personally because it felt like I was just watching a shift. But to other people who maybe don't work in the hospitality industry and get to see that, they're going to see drama. They're going to see passion. They're going to see fun. They're going to see some of the best camera movements I've ever seen in my life, and some of the most skilled directing and acting that has been in the movie for quite some time, like that.
I think even look at it, even like the extras in the film. I know they're just sitting about having dinner and stuff like that. But even if this is in one take, that's not the only take they've done. They would have done multiple takes and made sure they got the best one out of it. So even them sitting there, people probably think it sounds great to sit about all day and pretend to be having dinner, but even that's exhausting. So even the performance of the what they call them supporting characters now,
yes,
supporting characters now, yeah. Even their performance in it's great because you can see the that buzz of the restaurant in the background and everything. It's just really well directed. And I'm always a big fan. I'm a big fan of Jason Fleming as well.
He was great, yeah.
And just that sleazy, horrible, But then you realise that maybe he's been like that for a reason because the guy's basically done a bit of money and everything else. And but he's in almost everything he's in. I love him. When he was in Save Me and Save Me 2 on Sky last year with Lenny James. He's phenomenal in that as well, and I think he's just a fantastic actor. And obviously, he does a lot of directing and producing and writing now as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's involved in the financing of this as well, because it's a relatively small part for quite a big actor. But yeah, I can't.
It would have cost too much money, to be honest, either. So it's probably shot over the course of maybe 2 or 3 days in one restaurant.
Yeah, maybe not even a restaurant, to be honest.
Yeah, it could have been
just a warehouse, warehouse or something.
Could have been anything.
Or maybe an old. Yeah, but yes, really good. Even to the point, you got that KP who's obviously gets in the drugs, that kills him. That causes an issue at the end. But even the way that KP comes in a bit late and we've all had a KP like that. We've all got a KP like that in our restaurants. You know what I mean? Not the drug bit, but the way his attitude and the way he comes in, and there's a chef, an older person that works there that always gets on really well with him and stuff like that. And yeah, just really, just. I mean, I've worked in a couple of sort of higher end restaurants like that. This is sort of portraying, and you know, the chefs are like it, and like they are in this, you know, because they're under so much pressure from, you know, the moment they get in the morning to the moment they leave at night. It's just constant pressure to make sure everything's perfect.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they portray it so well, you know. Even like the small, even like that on that girl, the girl that's making the salad, and she's saying they puts
Puts in
the
that oil or
walnut,
something through it, yeah.
yeah, the walnut oil into the dressing, and it's just like her at that moment, and that's a small part from a relatively unknown actress, and it got me, you know, because obviously we deal with that stuff every day, you know.
Mm. Yeah, it's honestly it's brutal. I mean, like, to anybody who knows me, who does watch this show and always questions why I never reply to messages, or I'm busy, or it takes me ages to get me somewhere, watch this film. This is basically my life 4 days of the week. This is it. This is just like what we deal with 4 days a week. Just constant chaos. Just literally putting a lid on chaos. And like I said, it was like that. I'd genuinely love to find out from the director or writer and what where they worked. I'd love to know, because this movie is born from like solid realism. It's not. They're not. They must have had some insight.
I mean, you imagine he's probably made the short film. He must have had some background in restaurants, and then that's been spotted by somebody, and they've given him the funding to make the bigger film, you know, out of it. Because the shorter film is it's a similar sort of story, but it's a much smaller, and it's less. It's not really in the front of the house at all. It's all in the in the kitchen pretty much. And it's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, I mean, it's got I was reading it's got a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.6, I think it is, on IMDb. So it's, you know, the reviews are there, and I read Mark Kermode's review about it, and he was very, very glowing in his.
Was it?
The only thing I thought was I thought the way they finished it at the end, when he does that line and then falls over, I thought that was a little bit weak, maybe. But I thought it was a bit weak. It was not really, you know, nothing really to explain why that happens, you know, and I thought that was a bit weak. But apart from that, I had nothing but good to say about it.
I agree with you on that one, because obviously they had to show basically the culmination of everything that happened in the day and a finality of it through what happens to him at the end. But probably could have written something into it a little bit better, a little bit more story, a little bit deeper, rather than just him taking some drugs, because that wasn't really discussed at all through the whole film, and it just became
I mean, there's a thing with a bottle where it's obviously alcohol, you know, and there's that. But the drugs thing, I just didn't. I mean, we know that in a lot of kitchens across the world, there's an awful lot of drugs and drinking goes on, you know. So maybe it's just a sort of nod to that a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, but it's. I just thought it was a bit. I thought it just happened a bit quickly.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I do think it could have been more part to do with the story of the kid or something like that coming in. And do you know what? I would have actually rather had him just sit down and have a heart attack. Just without
something like that. Yeah. I would agree. I
would have felt more. You'd have been more like, oh, okay, shit. Look at the toll of everything that's happening.
Yeah. I suppose because of the way they've shot it as well, it's that one take and it takes place over that 90-minute period. And I suppose it probably is more difficult, because I mean, you could have something like, you know, the police coming to get him, or because the nut thing, or, you know, an EHO turning up again, but then you're going to have to then stop it and then start it again, and that isn't in going with the rest of the film, I suppose. But it's a very, very minor part to it.
It's teeny. I mean, it's like literally the last 5 seconds. It's the closing of the film, but it is obviously just, like I said, I do completely agree. It felt a wee bit slightly out of place, but it's still out of place, but it still works.
That's not works.
It works perfectly, and it fits into the story. I just felt from a story perspective, I think from how high grade everything else was, it feels as if for me it knocked it down and cheapened it just a bit. But other than that, incredible.
Fantastic. I told you should listen to all my recommendations.
I usually do, buddy. I usually do. I just haven't had any time, and guess what? I haven't had any time.
I know.
Because I work in hospitality.
Believe me, I just don't sleep.
No, it's like we do these reviews, and obviously, like Nathan comes going, you seen that movie? Have you seen that movie? Have you seen that movie? And I'm like, where are you getting the time to watch? And he comes back and says, like, I've watched 10 series of this series. And I'm like, why do you just like sleep with matches like that? Just going, right.
I'm actually only 18. I just haven't slept for about 12 years.
That feels true. That feels.
And I also, true. I mean, I live in London, so I've got tube rides and things every day to watch things on. You know.
Ah, goodness, yeah, good point. You can sit and watch something on your phone, can't you?
Yeah, that's what I do most days.
Aye. Honestly, again, I mean, you've only just watched our review yesterday. What we did yesterday. What did we do yesterday?
Mass.
Oh, Mass, yeah. Probably another movie we couldn't recommend higher. Here's another movie we couldn't recommend higher.
No, it's a good run, you know.
Yeah, it's 2 for 2.
Yeah,
it came out.
Two of the best movies I've watched in the last 6 months, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Without a shadow of a doubt. Like I said, I felt a bit dejected from the movie just because of my own personal life and my own. It felt like watching.
I I'd imagine. I know from talking to you, obviously, if you've had a couple of bad days at work and then you were to watch that, it wouldn't have been the best watching. I understand that, you know.
Yeah, I was in France.
I think I watched it, I was actually on holiday, so you know I didn't. Although I did feel a bit like I was watching on a shift, you know. But it was. But yeah, I mean, the one thing I thought was really interesting, the girl who plays the sort of front of house manager, right?
Mm.
I have worked with so many managers like that who think they've got to be that hard-nosed thing straight away, and that's the only way they can get respect, which is, you know, as we know from being managers, that's not how you get respect and how you build your team and stuff like that. And I thought it's a really, really small character thing. Mm-hmm. Which it suggests to me that this, I haven't read enough about the guy. I looked his name before and I've forgotten it.
The director?
Yeah. He must have.
Barantini?
Something like that, yeah. He must have worked in a restaurant before to have to see that. Must have done.
Has to. So, I mean, like, I quickly Googled his name. He's done one episode of the Martin Freeman show, The Responder.
Yeah.
But that's as a director, but he's also been an actor. So,
all right.
And do you know what?
If he's been an actor and he worked in London, he lived in London, he definitely worked in a restaurant or a bar at some point.
You must have. So in The Responder, he actually played Steve. He played Floyd Walker in Time.
In Time? I watched Time.
Yeah, so he played Floyd Walker for 2 episodes.
Oh, I know who that. All right, okay.
So that's
I know who it is now.
That's your
Time is another thing that I would recommend anyone to watch, because Stephen Graham's also in that, and Sean Bean's in that, and that's one of the best TV shows you'll ever see. BBC showing you how to make, Britain showing you how to make great TV, you know, without all the razzmatazz.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, when they get it right. But when they get it wrong, they get it spectacularly wrong as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I would recommend this to anyone to watch, and especially people who have ever worked in a restaurant or currently work in a restaurant. Yeah.
So when I tweet this out, I'm going to be tweeting everybody who I've ever worked with. So I'm going to be tweeting Gordon Ramsay to watch our review and talk about it. Anybody who's ever worked in restaurants is going to get a tweet on this one saying to watch it, because it's incredible. It's a great film. It genuinely is a great film.
I think another thing to think about with it, I would say, is with when you go talk about Stephen Graham and how good an actor is, I think the fact that Martin Scorsese casts him in his movies, you know, and specifically requests him, says a lot about what. I mean, Martin Scorsese is probably one of the top 2 or 3 living, you know, directors. Yeah. And if he wants him in his movies, it suggests that he's doing something right, you know. And also, obviously, he cast him in Boardwalk Empire as well, you know, when he was in charge of that. So, yeah, Al Capone, wasn't he?
Al Capone.
So I mean, it just shows you what that's. Maybe he's one of these guys. I know he's probably early 50s now, I'd say, late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
So maybe he's a wee bit old to get a huge big break over in America, but I think he's well thought of amongst the people who know. I mean, apparently he's really good friends with Leonardo DiCaprio and all these people as well, you know, so not bad, eh?
It's all right for some. But there you go. I guarantee you that both the last episode, Mass, and this episode, Boiling Point, are not going to be the last time that you hear those titles. We're probably going to be talking about this at the end of the year. End of the year is a long way off, but I guarantee you, like, given the level of just filmmaking in general for this film, it's definitely going to be talked about by the end, and we'll probably bring it up, no doubt, a couple of times in the next couple of reviews, because it's still going to stick in my head for a while, for sure, no doubt.
Yeah.
But there you go. That was Boiling Point. Thanks very much for joining us. Thank you, Nathan.
Cheers.
We can do this all day.